All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ole Miss After Dark. After quite a long hiatus, me and Hitch are right back with you to talk a little bit about the Rebels' upcoming game in the Gator Bowl against the Duke Blue Devils and hit on a little bit of the Rebels hoops, who dropped a game in Memphis on Saturday to the Memphis Tigers. Kind of an up and down game, started really slow, come back in the first half, and then more of the same in the second half there as well. Had a chance there late. But we will get into all that here in a little bit as well. But Hitch, been a minute, man. Good for our schedules to finally match up a little bit so we can get back to it.
Yeah, man, I know it was a crazy holiday. I guess probably not yet over holiday break here, but man, the kids have been out of school and I ain't done a whole lot, but just kind of laze around and watch a lot of sports actually. So it's been nice.
Yeah. It's always fun. Mine obviously out of school for another week as well. As we head into the new year, 2024, literally almost over, a couple days away now, and we will be into 2025, as unbelievable as that is. But here we are hammering through it. So let's get into it a little bit. Ole Miss is heading down to play in the Gator Bowl against the Duke Blue Devils. One really big talking point for Ole Miss is how many opt-outs we do not have, because we obviously have a lot of talent on this roster. Walter Nolan playing, Princely Imani Yalen playing, Jared Ivey, JJ Pegues, Jackson Dart. All those guys have opted in for the bowl game to play. I think the only one that has actually opted out is Pooh Paul, so the good linebacker that has obviously had one hell of a year for Ole Miss. So he will be missed. If he ends up not playing, obviously that's a pretty big piece to the puzzle when it comes to the Ole Miss defense. He's been really good for us. But kind of what are you looking for here in the Gator Bowl here, right? Besides the running back situation, how many carries is Ulysses Bentley getting?
We don't get a one. I had no idea. We would have to bring our running back room guy, Chad Flowers, back onto the show to kind of give us where we stand there. But my first thought about this Gator Bowl, man, these guys are crazy. They're nuts. There's not a chance. I love all these guys for doing what they think is right and playing in the game, but not a chance I would play in this game. Zero chance.
100%, especially if I was a first-round pick like Nolan and potentially Princely, those guys, they're going to be high draft picks. They got a lot of money at stake going into the NFL draft. But yeah, they've opted in. This is kind of a good segue. I was going to save this for a little bit later, but Saturday night or Saturday evening, whenever the game was played, with Miami and Iowa State, there's a lot of stink being thrown around about Cam Ward basically opting out of the second half. Played the first half, had a huge first half, broke the record for most passing touchdowns between FCS and FBS levels combined. Ended up passing Casey Keenum, pulled himself out at halftime. I say pull himself out because that's what everybody is calling it. There's zero chance this was not predetermined of, hey, you're going to play the first half, we're going to get you the record, and we're going to get you out of there because you have the chance to be the number one overall pick. Do you have a problem with it? Because I have no problem with it whatsoever.
No, not at all. Get your accolades, right? Just as much as I'm a get your money while you're here, get your accolades too, because that's what people are going to remember. Get your accolade, and then don't put yourself at risk anymore, right? Why continue to put yourself at risk to lessen your value in the upcoming draft?
When you have a guaranteed huge payday coming your way, that's the thing.
Yeah, right. It doesn't matter how. You see people all the time going into the draft and they may be hurt and they may be dinged up, right? But you'll hear say, well, if they're healthy, they'll be this, they'll be that. But the way that the NFL works, as a business now, they're not going to invest a lot of money in somebody coming into their organization that has an injury. Why would you do that? I would go with someone who has probably equal value that's not injured.
Yeah, and look, in the defense of NFL teams, there is one team out there that would take him even if he ended up tearing an ACL. Ask me how I know, Hitch, because I've seen it. Deion Jordan, defensive end for the Oregon Ducks back in the early 2010s. The Miami Dolphins traded 2 first-round picks and a number 2 to get up to the number 3 spot to take him with a torn ACL. Guess what? He sucked. He was terrible.
Yeah.
We lost all the draft capital. He showed up, and even when he was healthy, he sucked again. So, look, there is one team that would still take the chance on him, and, look, we still need a quarterback too. So, if anything, maybe he could have played the second half with the chance of getting hurt and still getting drafted by the Miami Dolphins because, look, that Tua thing's just not going to work out. But, again, 100% agree.
Well, just cut out everything I said. Yeah, you're right. Just cut out everything that I said because it was all BS. You're right, actually. But yeah, I don't have to answer your question, the original question. It's probably exactly what I would have done, right? And I guess 10, 15, 20 years ago, would that make me and Cam Ward pieces of shit? Yeah. But today, I think it makes us
smart.
Me and Cam Ward, right? My guy. It makes us like smart businessmen almost, right? So, like, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. I don't either. Look, if anything, I have a problem with him playing in it to begin with, right? But again, if you want to play with your teammates, you want to go out, one final time and get that last win, then fine. I mean, if your argument is that he should have opted out completely instead of doing it just in the second half, I kind of understand where you're coming from there, but I still think that needs to be credit given to him for going out and at least playing a half. Just like you're going to see with these Ole Miss players, right? Nolan, Princely, Dart, those guys. Trey Amos is another one. Like they've got him anywhere between a 1 and a 3 round pick right now at corner. I mean, that's a guy that's set up to make some really good money here in the NFL. Only thing that I will say, particularly to Ole Miss fans, Ole Miss people that are criticizing Cam Ward, you may want to hold that criticism until after the bowl game, because I wouldn't have a problem whatsoever if any of those guys didn't come out and play the second half. Don't know if that's going to happen. Have no inside information on that whatsoever. Maybe they go out there and they play all 4 quarters. But if they don't backtrack and backpedal because they're your guys as opposed to Cam Ward being at Miami.
Yeah. And too, just to add on to everything that I said about how they shouldn't play, I also think that the fact they are playing is very admirable, and like they should get credit, for playing in a game that they don't necessarily have to play in. Right. So I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing that they're playing, right? It is with their team. But other than that, don't play, man. Get your money.
Yeah, absolutely. Go make all the money you can, because one day you're not going to be able to do it anymore. So capitalize on it while you can. Kind of the other side of the coin, the Duke Blue Devils, they have been absolutely depleted by the transfer portal, opt-out, stuff like that, down to their number 3 quarterback, as the first 2 quarterbacks have jumped into the portal here ahead of this Gator Bowl. Obviously, Malik Murphy, he's going to, I believe, Oregon State is where I saw he ended up signing. So Ole Miss is going to end up facing their number 3 guy, Bellin. He's 6'3", 220-pound guy from New York. He's been with Duke for the last 3 years. He's played a little bit, appeared in 4 games in 2023. In his career, over 3 seasons, he's completed 57% of his passes, only passed for 282 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. That seems to be who Ole Miss is going to be dealing with. This kind of the new era of college football, though, right? If you're not in the college football playoffs, if you're not going for that national championship, the way it's set up with the transfer portal, You need to get in it. You need to get in it early because these teams have money to spend, especially right now with revenue sharing coming up all of a sudden. They have a lot more money to spend. So get in there, get your name in the hat, try to get whatever deal you can get before possibly there's some restrictions, guidelines put into whatever this crazy world of college football is.
Yeah, I mean, it's still the Wild West, right? We're a couple years into it, and it feels even more like the Wild West than it did when it first started.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was telling Blake last night. She asked when our game was, and I was like, it's the Gator Bowl. She's like, who we playing? I was like, Duke. And she was like, oh, are we going to win? I was like, well, we started out as 14-point favorites, and now we're 17-point favorites. I mean, that seems like a very large point differential for a New Year's Day bowl. And, I think that, I think Duke's in trouble. I really do with the defense. I don't know about our offense because I've watched them a lot. This year I was on them a few times for the other show. Their defense is really good. Our offense, our offense will probably struggle a little bit against their defense, but their offense, I don't think, will be able to move the ball at all, especially with all of our guys, playing, and there's not. So I think it's going to be a fun game to watch as an Ole Miss fan from the defensive standpoint. I think the defensive guys are going to have a lot of fun on the field on January the 2nd.
Yeah, that's one thing that Manny Diaz, the Duke coach, said in the press conference they had. It's probably been a couple of weeks ago now with him and Lane Kiffin. That you can come for the nice weather in Jacksonville and stuff like that, but you're going to stay to see tackles for losses because these two teams both rank, I believe, in the top 5 or top 10 in the country in tackles for losses. These are two defenses that can really get after you up front, and they do one hell of a job with that. So that's going to be really entertaining to see. I agree with you. I think Ole Miss is in a lot better position, obviously. And then you see the line movement the way it has all the way up to 17, as I checked earlier today. I think Ole Miss is going to be able to run away with this one, hopefully send Jackson Dart off the right way. I do want to touch on him for just a second. I think Jackson Dart has left a legacy at Ole Miss as one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in Oxford. I can't imagine anybody is ever going to put together a top 5 quarterback list in Ole Miss history without number 2 being on it. Jackson has ever since he stepped on campus, right? He went through a lot. He battled for the starting job his first year here, battled for it his second year here when we went and got Spencer Sanders out of the transfer portal. I fully believe we went and got him to start over Jackson Dart, and Jackson wouldn't allow that to happen with his performance and the way he played. Showed up again this year, had another really, really good year. You look up and down the record books, Jackson Dart's name is going to be all throughout it. And then all the games he's won here, right? A chance for another 10-win season here after winning, 11 last year, I think it was. So just kind of your parting thoughts on Jackson Dart, legacy at Ole Miss, maybe even where you think he ranks in the tiers of Ole Miss quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I loved him. I said all 3 years, he was so much fun to watch. And what I loved about Jackson Dart was the way he played. Not the way he played, but the way that he was a kid, right? He always had a smile on his face. He was always happy. Well, I mean, except when he threw a couple of interceptions there, at the end of that game. But outside of that, I'm talking about off of the football field, right? He's been involved in the community so much, and you see him out, and he always has people around him or people asking him questions, and he's always nice to everybody, and it takes time to talk to him. But on the field, right? I don't know. We've had a run of really good quarterbacks in my adulthood, right? Going back to the first quarterback I can name, right, when I started watching Ole Miss, Stuart Patridge, right? That's the one that I think about when I think first, quarterback, right? And from there you had Marrow, Eli on up. And then you had a whole run
Nathan
of guys.
Stanley, Zach Stout. Like, don't leave them out here, Hitch, okay?
Ethan Flatt, right? You know, my bad.
Ethan Flatt, come on.
Wasn't there a Cotton?
Good old number 19
Cotton in there?
Raymond Cotton. Yeah, he was a 4-star quarterback out of Maryland.
Yeah. But, you know, we had a long run of guys. But Jackson Dart has to be up there at the top, you know, with number 10 for me, and also with Chad Kelly, right? I mean, when it comes to on the field performance, like you said, in a big game, right? And I think when we're talking about Ole Miss quarterbacks, I think we have to take number 10 out of the conversation because he's the answer every time, right? Right. Like so why even ask the question if he's always the answer? But so you take him out, right? And you need a big play, right? You have one play, one throw, right? I think a lot of people, I know you do, go to Chad Kelly. And then, you know, from there, it is a very open discussion about is the next person Bo Wallace, Matt Corral, Romero Miller, who is that person? And I think Jackson Dart has at least put his name in that conversation, if not supplanted himself, if not supplanted himself as like to be whatever. You know, I think he is 100% going to be a guy that when people ask about Ole Miss quarterbacks, he's going to be the first quarterback that comes to mind for a lot of people after Eli Manning.
Yeah. That's actually a really good way of putting it. Because again, you talk about Ole Miss quarterbacks, you take the Mannings out of it. Eli, Archie obviously had great careers not only in college but professionally as well. But then there's kind of a hodgepodge of guys there, and a lot of them recently. A couple under Lane Kiffin with Dart, Corral. You know my personal love fest with Chad Kelly and Bo Wallace. The toughness that guy shows on the field. Dart reminds me a lot of Bo Wallace. I think that's why I've kind of gravitated to Jackson so much over his career, because he's going to put his head down. He's going to try to run over you, even when he's 15 yards past the first down marker. If he thinks he can get another yard and a half by lowering the shoulder, he's going to do it, no matter how much it pisses off the coaches, because that's just the kind of player he is. Jordan Te'amu's another guy. You know, you talk about a guy that makes big throws. Jordan made a lot of really big throws. Now it helps when you have A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf out there, obviously. But still, he was obviously a guy that made a ton of big throws for Ole Miss. Let's not talk about that, Hitch, okay? I mean, I love Dawson as much as anybody, but that fool we had running the offense apparently hated him. So, but yeah, DeMarcus Lodge was out there as well too. So a lot of really big receivers there for Jordan. Probably should have scored 80 points a game, but you know, who's counting back in those days? But yeah, Jackson submitted himself to be in that conversation, to be after Archie, after Eli. You know, he's now in that Corral, Chad Kelly range as far as greatest quarterbacks in Ole Miss history. His legacy will live on. Won a ton of games here, all-time passing leader here in Ole Miss history. So want to thank Jackson for everything he's done for the university, for the program. One hell of a career, and can't wait to watch him play one more time on January the 2nd. Let's go ahead and shift gears here, Hitch. Me and you both watched the Ole Miss and Memphis game on Saturday. Rebel Hoops is interesting to watch right now. I'll say that. I think we're good. I think there are some really good players on this team. Padula, one guy that me and you privately talked about a lot yesterday, and I know got a lot of social media movement as well. Our guy Clafke, right? I mean, that guy's a spark plug off the bench. I really want to see his minutes improve going forward here.
Yeah, man, he came in, and I've watched some games here and there, you know, a little bit. But yesterday is the first day, like, where I made a point to sit down and, like, watch the game. And Clafke came in, man, and caught that ball, and he let it go. And as soon as he let it go, I went, I think I love number 8 before the ball even went in. Yeah.
I think that was the exact message that I got from him.
Yeah, man, I swear to God, and he let it go before it went in. I was like, yeah, I love this kid. But yeah, looking at it yesterday, right, watching the game, I had to think, I had to go back and look at the box score. I was like, where did 70 points come from? Because it didn't, Dre Davis had 2 points, but I don't remember him scoring. So I missed that basket, and he's a guy that has been pretty good leading up to this game. I know that Murray hit a couple of threes. I knew Padula struggled from behind the line. So, but when you look at it, it's the minutes, right? Like you pointed it out, there were a lot of guys that played a lot of minutes. That's what stuck out to me was I think we had 8 or 9 guys that played 10 plus minutes in this game. And I think that's going to be big, coming into the SEC schedule that we can go, that deep, or Chris Beard feels like he's confident with enough guys that can play that many minutes. At least we have that coming out of this Memphis game.
Yeah, we had 9 guys play at least 11 minutes, and then the 10th one, John Bowl, he played 9. That's kind of where I wanted to go with this because we talked about it. The first half didn't quite go our way, the start of the first half at least, and Ole Miss did a really good job of weathering that storm. Clackey comes in as an instant spark plug on both ends of the court. I thought he was really good defensively for us as well. And then we put John Bowl in there towards the end of the first half. And that's when we go on that big run to really get back in this thing. And, obviously we had the ejection of Michael Brown-Jones. That was a big one for us. Couldn't believe he got ejected for that, by the way. A flagrant foul, give him 2 shots, the ball back, all that. Yeah, that's fine. The fact that he got ejected for that blew my mind. Like, I never even considered it an option after watching the replay. I mean, yeah, he gave him a jab to the back of the neck. But dude, me and you grew up in an era where there are fouls at the basket harder than that, that you just get a regular personal foul for, much less getting ejected. But Brown-Jones, he was really, really good. Only played 13 minutes because of the ejection, but goes 6 for 6 from the free throw line, 8 points. 6 rebounds, 1 block. He was the physical presence that we were missing down low after he ended up getting ejected. And I think that was really the turning point in this game for us.
Yeah, he was bigger. He was better than I thought he was yesterday. Because when he got ejected, I thought, well, we have other guys. We have Dia. We have Dre Davis, who can play a little bit bigger if he needs to, or maybe smaller, but he's quicker. Bowl, we have these guys that we can bring in. And then I looked at the box score and I was like, man, he had 8 points, and had some rebounds, and he was a bruiser. I think he was giving Danger and Cisse, a lot of trouble down there, banging, and it really felt like when we gave him the ball down there, that's when they started, getting into foul trouble. One of the things I found interesting is that we had so many turnovers in the first half, and we were able to be within 2 points at halftime. And I don't know if we turned the ball over at all in the second half. If we did, it was maybe only once, and it became a blowout. And it was because we couldn't hit shots, and it was because Danger and Cisse were just, controlling the paint on both ends of the floor. And I think, whether it felt like we waited too long to go with Bowl to get in there and try to do a little rim protection and get in these guys' way once, Brown-Jones got ejected. But still, like you said, I think it boils down to we didn't hit shots. We had open looks, and we didn't hit them. I think we shot, 29% from 3-point line and 36% from the floor overall. Which isn't great, and that's going to get you beat a lot. But the defense is suffocating at times. I love watching this team play defense.
Yeah. They definitely can play defense when they want to. I just don't feel like it's as consistent as you're expecting it to be from a Chris Beard-led team. going back to John Bowl real quick, though, that's another guy that I think we've got to start getting more involved in these games. Only plays 9 minutes, gets 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 for 3 from the field. Obviously, very highly recruited guy coming out of high school, comes to Oxford. This may be the time to kind of get him in here, start getting him acclimated to the college game and seeing exactly what we have and kind of get him to start progressing throughout the season, because we're going to need him in SEC play, because Rebels are 11-2 in a pretty good spot there. Only 2 losses, neutral site to Purdue, on the road to Memphis. Neither one of those 2 losses are going to kill you when it comes NCAA tournament time. But now it is the gauntlet of all gauntlets trying to go through this league. I think the way it sets up, there is not a single game that is below quad 1 for Ole Miss in basketball outside of the South Carolina game. If we were to play them, I haven't looked far enough ahead to see if we actually play them or not. But that is going to be just an absolute gauntlet to try to get through this league, especially with the size disparity that we have down low. That seems to be what's really been hampering us. Rebounding and being able to play physical enough down there. So that's going to be interesting to see, and hopefully they can figure it out before we get into it.
I mean, it feels like that's the story all the time, right? Like it's we have to play we play undersized and try to overcome that in other ways. And yesterday was a day where I think we had a good game plan going into it, but the Brown the ejection kind of got us off track there. I believe there. I think I think in the second half there's no way that it's a 17-point loss. And if maybe if Beard goes to John Bowl just to get in the way of Dangerous and Cisse a couple of times, it doesn't get there. But man, I tell you what, Cisse played like he did yesterday. If he played like that one time last year, he may still be on the team. Jesus Christ, man.
Oh, no, he would. He played out of his mind, man. He looked a lot more athletic. He was a lot more aggressive, which you're going to have that little extra motivation going up against your former team, obviously. But yeah, he looked really, really good yesterday. Rebounded really well. He was really physical, just something we didn't see in Oxford throughout his entire tenure there. Kind of looking at Ole Miss's schedule here, though, before we get out of here. Open up next Saturday at home at 11 against Georgia, and then we go on the road to Arkansas, back home against LSU. After that, travel to Tuscaloosa, to Starkville, back home against A&M, go to Columbia to face Missouri, at home against Texas, Auburn at home, Kentucky at home, and go to Baton Rouge, and then we get South Carolina on the road. So that's going to be, as of right now, a quad 2. Now, they're not far from getting into that top 75 net rating. I think they were 84 last I saw. If they get in that top 75, that's another quad 1 opportunity. And then you get Mississippi State at home, travel to Vanderbilt, to Auburn, Oklahoma at home, Tennessee at home, finish the year in Gainesville against Florida. I remember how that goes when Ole Miss sports teams played their last road game of the year in Gainesville. So hopefully that one goes a hell of a lot better than the last one.
No sweat. It's a no sweat.
No sweat, right?
Yep.
That's right. So, all right, Gator, look, we'll go ahead and get out of here. We will continue to keep up with Ole Miss basketball. We'll be back with y'all probably after the bowl game. We'll sit down, record one after the bowl game, and then talk some Ole Miss basketball as the season progresses. And look, dude, something I'm really excited about. We're like a month and a half, 2 months out from Ole Miss baseball. And that's something I'm really excited to dive into. Obviously, they start the season out in Arlington in that challenge tournament, whatever you want to call it, out there. 3 really good games out there in Arlington, so that's going to be a lot of fun as well. So we're diving into some Ole Miss baseball here coming up as well.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. Get your temperature checked real quick. In
sure will
tournament. Yeah, so we'll see.
All right, bud. Well, appreciate you doing this with me, man, and we will get together sometime latter part of next weekend, whatever it may be, and we will do this again.
Yeah, man. Hotty toddy.